This young man named Barack Obama got one of those tickets and came over to this country. He met this woman whose great-great-great-great-grandfather had owned slaves, but she had a good idea there was some craziness going on because they looked at each other and they decided that we know that the world as it has been, it might not be possible for us to get together and have a child. There was something stirring across the country because of what happened in Selma, Alabama, because some folks are willing to march across a bridge. So they got together and Barack Obama Jr. was born. So don't tell me I don't have a claim on Selma, Alabama. Don't tell me I'm not coming home to Selma, Alabama. I'm here because somebody marched. I'm here because you all sacrificed for me. I stand on the shoulders of giants. I think the Moses generation, but we've got to remember, now, that Joshua still had a job to do. As great as Moses was, despite all that he did, leading a people out of bondage, he didn't cross over the river to see the promised land. God told him, your job is done. You'll see it. You'll be at the mountain top and you can see what I promised. What I promised to Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. You will see that I've fulfilled that promise, but you won't go there. Vocabularies and synonyms. Bondage, slavery, enslavement, servitude, subjugation. Fulfill, bring to completion, accomplish, effectuate. Promise, one's word that something will be done. We're going to leave it to the Joshua generation to make sure it happens. There are still battles that need to be fought, some rivers that need to be crossed. Like Moses, the task was passed on to those who might not have been as deserving, might not have been as courageous, find themselves in front of the risks that their parents and grandparents and great-grandparents had taken. That doesn't mean that they don't still have a burden to shoulder, that they don't have some responsibilities. Vocabularies and synonyms. Passed on, phv, acquired, endowed, granted, inherited. Deserving, adj, worthy, meritorious, commendable, due. Burden, encumber, strain, overload, overwhelm, load. The previous generation, the Moses generation, pointed the way. They took us 90% of the way there. We still got that 10% in order to cross over to the other side. So the question, I guess, that I have today is what's called of us in this Joshua generation? What do we do in order to fulfill that legacy, to fulfill the obligations and the debt that we owe to those who allowed us to be here today? Now, I don't think we could ever fully repay that debt. I think that we're always going to be looking back, but there are at least a few suggestions that I would have in terms of how we might fulfill that enormous legacy. The first is to recognize our history. Vocabularies and synonyms. Previous, adj, former, prior, premature, ahead of, preceding. Legacy, inheritance, heritage, heirloom. Enormous, adj, very large, colossal, gigantic, immense.